Welcome back to the Next Level Podcast. I'm your host, Steven Antomarchi. Have you ever purchased something for your dog that you later just question whether you needed it or not? Maybe you go to eBay to purchase maybe a leash or a harness to save a couple bucks and it breaks on you in 2 weeks. I've definitely been there, especially early in my career. And it's not fun because when the break happens, when the failure happens, it's always at the worst time. Well, today I bring you 4 vendors, US-based vendors that are providing excellent equipment to our industry. First, we sit down with Matt Wilson of Ray Allen Manufacturing. Now, Matt, if you follow him on social media, he's gonna make you laugh, and it's very apparent that he is keeping his ear to the ground to make sure that they're providing equipment that is needed currently, which I absolutely love. Then we sit down with Paul Curtis. If you're in the detection realm, you probably know him as the owner of Sniff Industries and the creator of the CORT system, the Canine Odor Recognition Training System. It's a system that we use here for all of our maintenance training, and we also use it for all of our scientific research. We also sit down with Kate Delafont of Blackjack's Leather, a family-owned company that has amazing quality products. They make leashes and harnesses and collars and all kinds of stuff. And their customer service is A+ for sure. Then we finally wrap it up with Tim Richardson of Scenario Trainer and the Shot Box, which honestly, when I first saw it, I thought it was just a way to neutralize your dog to gunfire, but I found out it is so much more. It's portable. You can do active shooter training in all kinds of scenarios with that Shot Box. So really happy to be able to sit down with these 4 vendors. We hope that you enjoy and kind of connect with one and maybe consider looking into their companies for your next canine needs. Thanks for visiting us here at Next Level Podcast. We hope to see you soon.
I started in Canine in 06, well, dogs in 06. I was a dog trainer for the old PetSmart.
Get the out of here.
Yeah, it was my first job. I went there and I realized that I'm not made to be a cashier. So I just was like,
what did you do before that? Were you military?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean like first job, 16 years old. Yeah. So I was going to quit. They didn't have anybody to like replace. And they were like, well, we need people. And, you know, on big companies like that, like the turnover rate, they don't like it. You know,
of course
they try to keep it. So
yeah,
they offered me the dog training position and sent me to like their school and like whatever. And did that for a while and then got out of that and had a border collie at the time, did some ranch stuff. And then that kind of led me into the working side of it.
Yeah.
Got a Malinois and then I was always buying like Ray Allen equipment, you know, because it was local and it was USA made.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah.
That was important to me.
Hell
so yeah. I was buying the equipment. One day, you know, about 10 years ago, I walked in to buy some equipment and one of the guys offered me a job. I think almost kiddingly, you know, like he was just like, hey, like, he's like, you should work here. And I'm like, sure. When do I start? He goes, tomorrow. I was like, I'll be here.
No
and then
shit.
like started and then been there ever since.
What did you start doing for them?
I started as a cutter.
Okay.
So a cutter is the guy that like, so in like tailoring,
mm-hmm.
the cutter is like the everybody.
Oh, okay.
Like a tailor is like a guy that puts on buttons. A cutter is the guy that like makes your suit from top to bottom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like in this industry, a cutter is the guy that cuts all the parts for the people sewing.
Okay.
So I started out cutting, and I would like sneak shit, you know, cause like I've always had like, ooh, I want to make this.
Yeah.
And like, ooh, they don't have this. What if, you know, so I would sneak little parts. And then like when the manager that hired me is still there, still a good friend. But at the beginning, when he hired me, I'd be like, yeah, like wait till he left. And then I'd be like, jump on the sewing machine and like teach, like see if I could put something together.
That's awesome.
So I was making a bunch of stuff and then, they kind of saw like, you know, when I was doing the training stuff, like I worked with, you know, some of the local agencies and the military guys. And so they kind of saw the knack for the government contract side.
Cool.
You know, I talk the talk. I know a lot of the guys, you know, and so started with that and then started with the production side.
And I can confirm you'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, if you talk to Aikenhead, like it's funny, like just ask him, be like, how does Matt meet people?
Yeah.
You know, and he'll be like, it is the wildest thing I've ever seen. You know, like we were in Vegas at SHOT Show, and like I saw this guy that, you know, I'd follow him on social media. Like he's the reason why I wanted to get into long distance shooting.
Oh, nice.
And we're at a restaurant, you know, on the strip, and I see him walking down the strip, and I just run out of the restaurant and I like chase him down, and I just was like, hey dude. And he was like, you know, and I was just like, hey, I apologize. But I hadn't seen you, and there's a lot of fucking people here, but I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
You know, and he was like, oh, no shit. And then we talked for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He gives me this big bear hug.
That's awesome.
You know, and then I go back inside, and Matt's like, oh, like, do you know him? I was like, no, I've never met him before. And then he's like, what the fuck? You know, he's like, you're out here hugging the guy in the street. Like, you know, and it's just like, I don't know. Like, I just like making relationships with people.
Yeah.
Because I think relationships, like, the better that you can make them, like, you know, because it's not only about the gear, you know, like we kind of say like there's enough piece of the pie for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, as long as you're choosing good gear for your dog, like that's what's important to us.
Yes.
And, you know, and our whole thing is like putting good gear in good people's hands.
Awesome. Perfect segue.
Yeah.
We're here with Matt from Ray Allen Manufacturing. We're here at Hold the Line Conference 2024.
Yeah.
You've done this conference a couple times. It's a little different this year. Yeah. What do you think?
It's good.
Yeah.
You know, we're in where the conference area is. It was funny because I was like, this is a giant gymnasium. Like it reminded me but then I realized it's a hurricane. It's hurricane based. Like that's why it's brick and concrete.
I did not realize that. Yeah.
The ocean. You know, like I was like, oh,
makes a lot of sense now.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, it's cool. The conference areas or the vendor area is really big.
Yep.
So it's really spread out, which is nice. And yeah, you know, great handlers, you know, not the same handlers that you see at other conferences. So it's, you know, it's important for us to be here and, you know, represent not only just Ray Allen, but that we're here for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if you got a big department or a small department, like we want to be here for you.
What's your actual title for Ray Allen? What do you specifically?
So I'm the director of social media, product development, and bids and contracts.
It's a lot of things. Then.
Yeah. I mean, we all wear hats, right?
Yeah.
Like, and everybody thinks that Ray Allen is just a giant company and we're 45 people from the top to the bottom. They all,
really?
Yeah. Besides Matt, they all work in the building. You know, Matt's in Virginia, and we're all in Colorado, but yeah, I mean, we're 45 people that make all that equipment for everybody.
But you've been around for a little bit of time. Do you know the exact?
I do. 1948.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So what happened was on Kit Carson, which is now Fort Carson, Colorado Springs, Ray Allen himself was making the tack gear for the cavalry. And then they brought dogs in 47, I think, and then asked him if he could make a leather dog collar and a leather leash. And so when a new handler would come to base, they'd give the handler a $1 bill and he'd go off base and go to Ray's shop and get the collar and the leash. And that's how it started. And we still make that collar and leash to this day.
That's actually a really cool story.
Yeah.
I did not know that story. I've been following Ray Allen for a while. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, we got some history there.
Cool.
You know, and the big thing, you know, the big thing for us is like, you know, if you look at a lot of companies in like the tactical space, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people that were making the bandoliers for Vietnam are no longer in business.
Yeah.
You know, because they made the bandolier, it worked really well. And then they're like, and then they didn't innovate. They didn't move forward. They didn't try anything else.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's our whole thing is like, keep moving, you know, keep pushing the needle, keep inventing things that haven't been done or reinventing things that need to be better.
Yeah.
You know, and just, you know, make things.
Speak to that innovation. Obviously, you've done it over a plethora of years. What are some of the things that you think you guys have known for innovating and maybe some things for the future? Yeah,
I mean, I think that, that's a hard question. I think what's important is trying to change, you know, for me, it was trying to change the name of like Ray Allen is like the Walmart of the dog industry.
Ooh,
you know, that was like a thought, you know?
Yeah.
And I really wanted, you know, there was no face behind it. Right. And so like, that was my big thing was like, you know, putting a face to it, you know, getting on social media and that's not an innovation in any way. Right. Mm-hmm. Like we all do this podcast, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's just a constant moving thing to give information to people. Right.
Exactly.
But you know, like for us, like the big thing is like, we don't go, well, we are great here and hold on to that. You know, like, it's like, yeah, that was really cool. On to the next thing.
I love it.
You know, on to the next thing. So it's like, and we take a lot of, you know, whether it's, you know, like one of the first products that I had developed there was the Elusive collar, which is a collar that has an e-collar that you can mount with it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember that came from, you know, the group guys being overseas and going to like any place in Europe and like getting just hammered, you know, and like their dogs are assholes, so they need the e-collar on,
Yeah.
and they're like, so like we need to hide it. And so we developed that for them.
I love
you know,
that.
and then put that out for everybody else. You
Yeah.
know, so it's like you start with stuff like that. There's a lot of innovations that come from ideas from handlers or other people that want, you know, hey, I've thought of this product, or like, you know, could you do something like this? And then there's also like the innovation, like the dog trainer fanny pack, you
Yes.
know, which was like, you know, again, I'm super good friends with a lot of group guys, and like 10th group is the like Eurocom, you know, they're all Europe.
Yeah.
And so, and like all the Europeans run fanny packs, you know, and so it's because they can't get pickpocketed easy and all this kind of stuff. So they were running these little fanny packs, little Patagonia things, little, you know, Fjallraven stuff. And then they started making their own, and I had one, and everybody made fun of me, right? Like everybody made fun of me for having a fanny pack all the time. Like they're like, dumb. And then I was like, well, I want to make a fanny pack, but now like, but I work at a dog company, right?
Yes.
How can I mesh those?
Mhm.
So then it was like, let's make a fanny pack for dog trainers, you know, and then it was like, boom, you know, blew up, you know,
Yeah.
and we're like, okay, you
Yeah.
know, so now let's try to start like innovating in, you know, it's not just a collar leash harness,
Yeah.
you know, like let's innovate in like handler space.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the big things for us is like, we like to partner with people, you know, like whether that's like Nesbitt with like the GTFO
Yes.
or like, you know, our big one's Mike Jones,
Yeah.
you know, like Mike, you know, I told you I had a border collie, and he was just a treat hammer. And like I would come home from training, and like I'd have treats in my cargo pocket or something, and then like he would like sneak into the laundry and like pick the cargo pocket apart, and I was like,
Yeah.
you know, and I was like, man, I should develop something that goes in your pocket. And like Mike was like, hey man, have you ever thought of like a inside the pocket tree pouch? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, yes, you know,
Yes.
let's
yes.
go.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, we developed the incognito stuff with him, and then like the hoodie stuff, and you know, and like for me, I was trying to do like streetwear and dog side.
Yeah.
You know, because like I think as dog trainers, like, you know, I started out like I had a fucking battle belt and like training vest or training skirt or whatever else I could fucking pack on my body. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know if you cuss.
Absolutely.
But you just like pack all this shit on your body, you
Yeah.
know, and you're just like, oh, I didn't use that ball today. And I started just stripping everything. And then I got to the point where I was just using a hoodie,
Yeah.
you know, and then my dog was eating out the pockets of the hoodie,
Yeah.
you know, so it was like, oh, well, this is good. You know, I can just wear a hoodie, slide this thing in, and then it's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Slide it back out and put it back in the truck, you know?
That's awesome, man.
So, you know, it's just trying to find things that like not everybody's doing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's important for me. I love this industry. I love dogs. I love good handlers. I love good people, you know, and like I said, we just want to put, you know, good product in good
Yeah.
people's hands.
And I mentioned we put on a workshop every year, and you all
Yeah.
have been amazing sending us stuff
Absolutely.
so we can get out to the guys out there
Yeah.
doing the work.
Yeah.
And the partnerships, do you think that helps you stay grounded to what the industry continuously needs? Do you think that's why that works so well?
Yeah. I think it's important to have people that like have either done it or been around it,
Of course.
you know, to like see what it's really like.
Yeah.
You know, like how many, you know, it's like you're a dog trainer, right? Like how many times have people been like, oh, this is the best fucking job ever. Or like, all you do is play with dogs all day. And I'm like, 90% of it's cleaning kennel shit, you know, because like this dog exploded over the wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
how did it get on the ceiling?
Yeah.
You know, like that was, you know, like that's more of it, you know, and it's just like, you know, like you know, if you don't know that, you can't, you know, relate to the actual trainer doing the thing or the military guy doing the thing or
Yes.
the police dude doing the thing. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and all of our stuff, like it's super important for me. Like before you guys ever see it on social media or anything like that, we send it out to like a bunch of people, you
That's
know,
awesome.
like if we got a harness that needs to jump out of a helicopter, it gets sent to 10 guys that I know that do that. And I'm like, beat the absolute shit out of it
Yes.
and tell me what fucks up.
Yes.
You know, like what would you change? What would you move? What would you do? You know, so like it's not just like, oh, well, like Matt Wilson or Matt Aikenhead or Billy Travis or Ray Allen like thought of this thing and like everybody should have it. It's like there's a lot more thought that goes into it than just like, oh, here's a new product.
Yeah.
You know,
As it should, obviously, because
Right.
the stakes are kind of important
a
there.
little bit. Yeah.
We're doing rappelling in a
Mhm.
couple weeks,
Mhm.
and I've never done it with my dog
Yeah.
before. So naturally you're going to go to people who have done it at the highest levels.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to speak to team members and be like, hey, what harness, how did you do this? How did it
100%.
set up? What issues did you run
Right.
into? What muzzle should he be on for this deployment? So it's really cool that a lot of the times where I'll get advice about what the equipment I should be using.
Right.
A lot of times I can find it at Ray Allen.
Well, and it's not only just that, man. Like it's like, because these people aren't getting paid. Like everybody knows, like when the guys on the Instagram, like, yeah, like, like I'm sponsored by Red Bull.
Yeah,
and, it's just
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
it's like that kind of thing, which is super annoying, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's a lot better just to like, it needs to be authentic.
Of course.
So like if this dude's, hammering a dog, right, jumping out of a fucking helicopter,
Mhm.
like, and you're like, oh, what do you use? And he's like, I use this vest from these guys. I use this muzzle from these guys. Like, you're going to listen to that,
Yeah.
So it's like, which is important,
Of course.
like, and having that different space and like autonomy to not be like bought,
Yes.
and have
Oh,
like
I like
a good
that.
opinion.
I like that a lot.
Is super important to us.
Yeah.
Like, like we partner with people, we don't buy people.
Yeah.
Like, because it's just, they need to make their own decisions.
For sure.
And it's like, if you don't like my stuff, that's totally cool. There's enough piece of pie for everybody.
Absolutely.
Like, like I always call like Modern Icon, like we're frenemies. Like me and League talk all the time. Hey, have you thought of this idea?
That's cool.
And like we're like, oh shit,
Because you're servicing the same industry, and when
100%.
you guys do things together, we actually win
Yeah,
when that
no,
happens.
right.
Yeah,
Right. So like we talk and I'm like, hey, have you had this idea? And he goes, oh fuck, that's smart, dude. And I'm like, okay, cool. I can go, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Or like, like, ooh, we're not going to do this thing. Or like, oh, I saw that. And I'm like, that motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
I'm like, all right, so it's like, the innovation comes and it's good to have like good competition, and it's good to have like the frenemy part of it, and
For sure.
like build the relationships with people, like, because again, like it's about the handler and the dog at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like, and if you're just trying to just chase the almighty dollar, like you're going to lose. It's just
Absolutely.
a fast track to the end.
That's good. And I'll speak to the whole Align conference has done a great job of having vendors and instructors that super approachable guys
Yeah.
like yourself that are friendly, that we can talk just business or not business. We can talk about whatever, grab a beer
I talked
together.
about golf for like 2 hours with this guy. I haven't golfed since high school. This guy's like, dude, we're in Myrtle Beach, man. You want to golf? And I'm like, no. And then it went down this rabbit hole of like, his dad and my dad, and they have the same sayings, and like it was
That's
just
funny.
funny, So it's like, even if it's not that, like you're still building that connection, and that person's going to be like, well, that's right, I need a new dog collar. Oh, I talked to that Ray Allen guy. Like it doesn't need to be about dog stuff.
Yeah.
Like it can be about just everyday life. We're all relatable.
In the years you've been doing this, have you seen a transition to what people are doing as far as equipment is concerned, or what transitions have you seen in those 10 years is probably a better question.
I think that, the cool guy thing has gotten, that's got not really transition, but that's become the thing in the last 10 years, right?
Mhm.
Like, you see these dudes that are like rocking plate carriers and nods, and like they have their dog in this harness. So now everybody wants that harness or this harness or this collar or leash.
the sexy stuff, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
right. I mean, it's fun to look like a Navy SEAL, like
Mhm.
whatever, right?
Right.
Like, and I think that what's more important is like, the trend that I started seeing is that like, it's been a lot less copying
Mm.
and a lot more like people trying to find the thing that actually works for them,
I love it.
which is really important.
Yeah.
Like I was on search and rescue for a couple of years, and, it was like, people would be like, oh, like I want this thing and I want that thing. And I'm like, no, do the thing that works for you.
Yeah.
Like just because this person over here has this helmet,
Yeah.
like you don't need that helmet,
Yeah.
or if you want it, cool, spend the $500 on it, whatever,
Right.
but but it doesn't need to be like, just because you want it, like,
Yeah.
is it a need? Is it like, does it give you like purpose in your job?
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
Matt, tell people how they can reach you or Ray Allen on social media. If they wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do it?
Yeah. So Matt Wilson with Ray Allen Manufacturing. We have all the socials.
TikTok too? You do dances and stuff or what?
You should see the dance I did on the last video with. We did a collab with Worthless Handler.
I can see that.
Yeah,
too.
we did a ball. It's a ball dangler for a fanny pack. It was pretty ridiculous.
I love it.
It was an April Fool's joke, but but you can find us at Ray Allen K9 on Instagram, and that's all our socials. Ray Allen Manufacturing on Facebook, and then rayallen.com.
Awesome. Thank
And
you
we're
for
not the basketball player, I promise.
Yeah, I get that a lot too.
100%.
It's still a first thing that
dude,
comes up sometimes.
Kids send us letters all the time. You're
Oh,
my favorite
that's-
basketball player. So we actually were able to get in contact with like his people.
Yeah.
So now we forward all the letters to him.
As you
So
should.
yeah, well, because like we're just like, well, we don't know what to do with these things.
That's
you
pretty
know?
funny,
But
dude.
it's like to that kid, like that's everything. If he could get a written back note, that would be everything. to him. So it's
Absolutely.
like, we did a hunt, but anyway,
I love it.
Yeah.
No, dude, thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely,
Really.
man.
You were in a unique situation where you're not only a vendor, but you're an instructor this year. For those who don't know who you are, give us a kind of a rundown on who Paul Curtis is.
Oh, well, so I'm me.
That's good.
I've been, I was law enforcement for 22 years, retired, worked for 2 agencies, 20 years at one, created a canine program there, managed another large canine program at another agency. Enjoyed doing that. Retired, created Sniff Industries, based on a product that we've got sitting in front of us that was actually started being developed in 06, in a quest to do things better in the detection world. How to train handlers faster and better, but most importantly, how to train dogs to do different disciplines of detection, and make it more sound and more reliable, but in a much more efficient manner. So I've played with everything that every old timer or some of the new guys have done. The scent walls and the BSDs and the square ground boxes and every item out there, every trick that everybody has come up with. I played with all those and I said, hey, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And so I introduce the CORT system to you, which is CORT, which is Canine Odor Recognition Training System.
Yeah.
And this, I think, has really fit the principles that we train under. And it has shown in the work that we've done now with hundreds and hundreds of dogs that we want to imprint odor. We want to teach the sniff game. We want to imprint target odors on the dogs, and we want them to respond properly to those odors and ignore other odors. And this is what we've come up with, and I think we've accomplished what we were looking for.
So how is this different than some of the other products that are on the market? I know there's the BSD boxes. There's really a bunch of other containers that can hold odor and maybe a delivery system of some kind. What makes this different?
So this system has pretty much the same components of many other systems or boxes or things of that nature. But what it does is it brings all those components or elements together into one system. So you're basically pairing odors in this system. You're pairing a target odor with a stimulus, and then you're proofing off the stimulus and to just enriching the response to the target odor. So one of the key elements in this particular system is to achieve that is we reward the dog into target odor. So what we're doing is we're making that dog's association or value that target odor becomes much stronger, much faster because it's constantly in the odor. So every time the dog gets to engage a reinforcer or consume a reinforcer, it's doing it in target odor.
Very nice.
And then we take those reinforcers, those toys or food or whatever it is, and we put them in the decoy versions of this box, which you see the 2 boxes sitting here. One's a reward box, one's a decoy box, but they look exactly the same. So we don't have any visual cueing or anything of that nature. And these decoy boxes are set up to where we make sure that they're getting those reinforcer odors or those toy reward odors or food odors or both, to where those odors are present and they're sampling those odors in the decoy boxes. But they learn that they never get paid for that odor. And the only way they can get paid is to hit target odor.
Right.
So regardless of the dog's intelligence, and regardless of many other things, as long as the dog has the instincts to do the work, whether he's a brainiac puppy or not so much,
Yeah.
he can still be successful in his detection work.
Yeah.
And so this fits every dog in its detection work. The compartments are big enough to put pretty much any discipline of training aids in. We've used them for explosives, for arson, obviously for drug detection, human remains. We've done electronic storage with them, as you know. So a good compartment to fit training aids in. And then the versatility of what type of reward you drop in there. So this is a gravity feed system. So we can drop Kongs, we can drop pipes, towels, tennis balls, toys on ropes, food, kibble, you name it. Whatever you're reinforcing your dog to get the behavior you're looking for in your detection, you can pretty much reward that dog with this system.
Interesting.
So on top of that versatility, versatility was kind of the name of the game here. We needed to make it mobile. So you could go from one environment to another, whether you're indoors or outdoors. You see it sitting here on a set of bases where so you have like a ground box version of this particular exercise, where you got two eye bolts hanging out the sides there, and we've got some double-ended snaps where you can hang it on a fence. I have many clients that they'll put it on a wall, which allows you an opportunity to teach the dog patterns and to teach the dog to sniff at your direction and take your guidance. There's really a lot more elements that this thing provides than we'll probably sit here and talk about.
Yeah. One of the sports that are increasing significantly is the nose work stuff.
Yeah.
Has that been utilized in any way or?
So we really haven't targeted that yet, but it
Yeah.
is now starting to take hold.
Yeah.
We have some nose work clients that are working this system, and it somewhat closely replicates what they do, but you can put those target odors, those perfumes that they use in
Yeah.
here, and it's the exact same process. You're teaching a dog a sniff game, you're teaching it to respond to odor, and you're teaching the odors, and then you're teaching it to respond to odors. So those are the three main components, and that seems to be catching on pretty good. We're going to address that market a little more this year.
Yeah, good. You've been doing this long enough to see some changes within the industry. More recently, let's say the last 5-10 years, what do you think the biggest difference has been? What has changed in the industry as far as detection is concerned?
Well,
Good, bad, or indifferent?
there's been variables in the styles of how do we train the dogs. We're all looking for the same things. There's the old adage of, what do two trainers agree on? It's what the third guy's doing wrong.
Right.
So, but we're all headed from, we all are at point A, we need to get to point B, and so you can get different methodologies and whatnot. And so you have your marker training, you have your indirect reward, you have your direct reward, you have a number of ways to accomplish this goal.
Mhm.
I think there's space for all of these in certain applications. There's space for all of them. I
Right.
won't say that one's wrong. I know people that do marker training and indirect reward. There's people in this industry that I know that do that personally, and I respect the hell out of them. And there's some that's very good at it. That particular style of training, I don't believe, is for every dog.
Mhm.
Where this, as I was saying earlier, is for every dog.
Mm.
And even if you don't do this style training, you do the marker style training, the indirect reward, you can still imprint dogs. I have clients that imprint those dogs on these boxes and then go into the marker training if that fits that particular application.
Yeah.
So it's really, sometimes you'll see there's a division, but that division is really not as much as what we make out of
Right,
it. It's
exactly.
really not.
Yeah. So you have these boxes in front of us. Is there a way that you can kind of show us how this works and kind of go through an explanation of? I know you kind of went over it, but just a visual demonstration, if you will.
Sure. So you like I say, you have a reward box and you have a decoy box. So in our reward boxes, we'll turn a latch here. We'll open up a gate here. We'll put our training aids back here behind this gate in this training aid compartment, and we lock that down. This gate's perforated, so we get plenty of target odor right here. So wherever we are in the dog's training, imprinting a brand new dog or an old dog that we're doing maintenance training, just making sure we get a clean response or whatever. Whenever we see the behavior that we want to see, we pay the dog. We do that remotely. We have a key fob remote here. It also it has 4 buttons on it, so it allows us to put 4 of these reward boxes on one remote.
Nice.
So if I wanted to have a larger a larger selection of these boxes, and I could train 4 odors at one time.
How far away could you be and still activate the button to?
I've used it up to 300 feet.
Okay.
So I know it'll do 300 feet. I
Okay.
imagine it will do a little more than 300 feet, but
Okay.
line of sight 300 feet. So we use that a lot of times to transition into open area searches. So take a foundation exercise and bridge into open area type exercises. And that's been pretty successful. You can be, 100 feet away and dog's checking and whatnot, and he gives you the response, and you can pay him from 100 feet. You don't have to be right on top of him.
Yeah.
So we have a reward chamber up here. We'll throw this. We got a little firecracker in here now, but basically, if your reward item fits in that square, which is 3 1/4 by 3 by 6 inches, if it fits in there, you can pay your dog with it. So that will do, the large Kong, the tennis balls, the little USA grenades,
Oh, nice.
this USA firecracker, a number of different toys. It
Yeah.
pretty much catches just about all dogs.
Perfect.
So when we get that behavior we want, we hit a button on the remote, and voila, Fido gets paid right there in the source of odor. The good thing about this, or one of an example of an additive here, if you're imprinting a dog, and so you're starting to stretch out that hold in that response and whatnot, and you missed the timing a little bit, and the dog had moved on, and you hit the button, well, he still has to come back to trained odor to get paid.
Right.
So he's always getting paid in trained odor.
Mm.
There's never anything happening that causes him to get paid or disengage from trained odor to get paid. So that's one of the key elements, and that's actually one of the key elements in the patent. When I patented this back in 2014 and finally paid all that stupid amount of money to do that in 2 years of time,
Yeah.
it finally paid off. So that's basically how the reward box breaks down. And then the decoy box is pretty much the exact same looking box. However, it's in the top, it's just got space for distractors or for other reinforcers or things that you want to make sure that the dog is not responding to.
Yeah.
So in a very simple terminology, this is the what not to do box, and this is the what to do box.
How many years have you been doing this now? Coming to conferences?
Yeah. So we've been to conferences the last 3 years.
Okay.
We've been Blackjack's Leather for the last 4.
Okay. So were you something before?
Well, no, my husband and I just worked in a kennel.
Gotcha.
So he was the kennel manager and I was a dog trainer.
Yeah.
The gentleman that supplied our kennel came to us one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to be retiring. Do you have any interest?" And at first we said no. And then we found out that he was sick and he was going to pass away.
Oh, no.
And nobody wanted Blackjacks.
Really?
So it was this or it died.
What a crazy story.
Yeah.
So Blackjack's Leather was something that you've kind of inherited from somebody else.
Yes. So we're the third owners.
Okay.
It started in 76. The first gentleman's name, I believe, was Bob.
Mhm.
I don't remember his last name.
Okay.
But they were big in like the pit bull, bulldog weight pull. So like the big studded collars, all of that, harnesses. And so when we took over from Joe, who was the second owner, we didn't get a chance to learn from him. He was too sick at that point.
Wow.
We had like 2 weeks from the time we said, yes, we'll take it, till he passed.
Yeah.
We met with him one more time before he died.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to learn anything from him. We learned 2 things. One from his son-in-law. He taught us how to make a collar. His wife taught us how to make a leash. And we've done everything else self-taught.
That's amazing. I love these stories. I've known you for years now, and I didn't even know that.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
a really cool story.
So we started everything in our house. We have a 3-bedroom, 1,000 square foot home. We had
Yeah.
both kids in one room. And it was in the 1 bedroom and bled into the living room. And you would literally shimmy through our house like a hoarder's house with leather.
As
everywhere.
all good businesses start.
Yes.
I love that.
Now
That's so
we've
cool.
moved it out of the house.
So we are here with Katie from Blackjack's Leather. Katie, we've known each other for a while. I think we first met, is it Las Vegas?
Yes.
At one of the shows out there?
No, it was Police K9 conference,
Okay,
the
yeah.
first one in
Gotcha.
Nashville.
Yeah, got you. And, today we're here at the Hold the Line conference in Myrtle Beach, and it's been awesome. Different from it was, I guess, last year in Pittsburgh. How's it been for you guys? Has it been easier to get in and out? Give us an idea of what it's been like this year.
It's been great this year. We love doing these things because we get to see the familiar faces, we get to see the new faces, because each conference, when these conferences move, you get different people from different parts of the US, and sometimes internationally. So it's just nice to like sit down with the guys and find out what they like, what they don't like, what they're using, what they're not, so that way we can kind of tailor. I mean, obviously we do leather, we dabble in some biothane, we dabble in some nylon, but we can always kind of tailor those things to what they're looking for.
Perfect. So has anything changed over the years that you've been providing leather services? Has any new product come out that people want you to replicate, or how are things changed in the last couple of years?
So from the like looking back at the initial leashes, we made great sturdy leashes, but there's things that we look at and we're like, wow, like the progression is awesome. So we started, beveling all of our edges, and so that's a machine that we pull every leash through. Every strap goes through that machine by hand, and we pull them, and it softens the leather, allows them to become more supple quicker. It gives that already broken in feeling on a brand new leash, and then it just becomes better from there.
That's awesome. So things always change. Do you think that you guys will be making any changes in the future? Is there a trend or a tendency that things are kind of going toward?
We get a lot of people want us to go back to our harnesses, but again, that's something that we have to self-teach. We weren't taught how to make those.
Yeah.
So we go through the same process of, making them, replicating them, giving them out to people like guys like yourself who are going to utilize them.
Absolutely.
To put them through the rigor, so that way we know what works, what doesn't, where our weak points are, how we can make them better.
For sure. And I talked to your husband. We're going to do some product testing and do some stuff through stress tests.
Yes.
Hard to say, apparently. So, and in that, we're going to stretch that leather out. We're going to see the strength of the clasp. We're going to introduce it to a bunch of water, see what that does, if the elasticity will kind of come back. We're going to test all that. And, there are a lot of leash companies out there. So it's cool to be able to be like, all right, that's information that will better the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's all about quality.
Yeah.
It's like quantity is great and quantity makes you money. But at the same time, if you don't have the quality, then it doesn't matter how much you're putting out, because it's gonna die eventually. Because every person that buys a leash or a harness or a collar from you, if they can only get a certain amount of time out of it, and then at the end of the day, it's going to fail on them, they're not going to recommend you further.
Yep. Your customers that come back to you probably is the best.
We have people from 20 years ago.
Wow.
So we've only had the company for 4. We have people calling us from 20 years ago where Joe made them a collar or Joe made them a leash. And they're like, it's the best leash I have. It's the best collar I have.
I love that.
And I want another one, or I lost it, or it finally gave out, or, but that's 20 years of use.
Yeah. Well, it's always fun to come here, see you and your husband, the kids. If people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that? You have social media?
Yes. So you can either reach out to us through our website, blackjacksleather.com, or we're on Instagram at blackjacksleather, or Facebook, it's at blackjacksleather1.
Awesome. They're a great family company. We love them. And we hope that you will give them an opportunity. Tell us about your product, what your company does, and what you guys sell.
Yeah, it's been a fun little journey. About 4 years ago, was putting together a security team, safety team, and realized there was a need for a more realistic stimulus to replicate gunfire.
Yes.
It kind of started like this. I brought in a guy to train my 150 staff, and he's like, "Hey, Tim, do me a favor. Just stand in the back, blow up these 10 balloons, and when I give you the secret word, you just start popping those balloons." I'm like, dude, I just paid you all this money to come in, and I'm popping balloons to create an active shooter scenario.
That's crazy.
To get the stress level up. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah.
And then I went to the tactical trainer that was doing our core team, the response team. Same thing. He's like, yeah, we just train sheriff's departments and all that. We just have 2 boards and a hinge, and we just smack them together, and that's our stimulus. I'm like,
it's true.
This is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
There's, being an electrical kind of guy growing up, I was like, there's a way we could do this with capacitors and make a really realistic crack, just like a gunshot.
Do you have a background in electrical engineering or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a funny story. So not officially.
Yeah.
I went to college and I was like, to study electrical engineering. I'm like, this is way too boring. Like I'm hands-on. You're like,
I love it.
So I
Yeah.
went a whole computer route. But the cool thing was when I was a kid, about 12, a guy brought over a whole truckload of electronics, and he had a PhD in electrical engineering. He's like, Tim, I'll mentor you. He's like, come over to my house. We'll have dinner every night.
That's
or
worth a
every
college degree
Thursday
right
night,
there, man. That is awesome.
So his wife would cook dinner. I'd go down to his basement, and he had like the most amazing lab. And I learned so much from this guy. He was a Case Western, university professor too. And
did you say his name? Did you want to shout him out?
Yeah, Dr. William Thompson.
That's
he passed
awesome.
away last year, but
Sorry to hear.
had a huge impact in a lot of people's lives. Not just me, but kids that came after.
Yeah,
and
of course. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so I learned a lot, and he inspired me to do stuff like this, and so it's been a fun journey having a tool, and that's what we do. Our goal is to create training tools that bring realism to the training, and whether it's at a high level in the military for battlefield effects, all the way down to what we're doing for active shooter or acclimating dogs, getting them gunfire neutral.
So the industries that you serve are obviously near and dear to my heart, right? So police, I'm sure security, and a lot of the stuff you're doing for the military. I kind of heard you talk about some of the things you're able to do and kind of customize. Can you speak to like why a police department or why someone in the military would benefit from your product?
Yeah, it became a little more obvious, just from the dollar standpoint recently, because the cost of blanks went up and they were hard to get. Some departments are calling us like, hey, we have a training next week, and they're telling us 6 months before we can even get a blank round, and then the munitions and all the different training blanks that are out there got real expensive and hard, and then they started kind of changing around, the accessibility of some of that stuff. So that kind of drove, an extra need for this type of product where we can electronically create unlimited gunfire. So it's like, I just got an email this morning from Dallas PD, and they're like, Tim, you've saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's what he wrote in an email.
That's amazing.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars with this system. And it's like, so that was kind of like the real easy no-brainer. Like, it will save money. But for us, it was the quality of training, like putting the trainer in control. So we give them a remote. So picture you're running an active shooter drill. You have a unit hiding in a room, as if it was an active shooter. The trainer is following the trainees through the scenario. So he's firing off shots exactly when he wants them.
Beautiful.
He's not like on a radio, like hoping the guy, the role player doesn't go rogue on him and fires it at the right time, doesn't screw up the whole scenario that he's, spent all his time preparing. And so that was kind of the big thing, like giving them control, creating a realistic shot. I got a call from a 3-letter agency. And one day, and this was early on, and they called and they're like, Tim, we just watched the active shooter situation in Boulder, Colorado. There was a grocery store called King Scoopers. 10 people died, unfortunately. He said, but in the video camera footage that we saw, there was a guy in there. He was highly trained. He was carrying a gun. Like, he could have taken that shooter out, we think, before he killed 10 people. He's like, it's kind of our fault as trainers. Like, we always practice with our ears on.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't used to that level of sound stimulus going off, the shots being so loud, and he just shut down. Like,
oh, wow.
Like, we need something louder. Like, our training, our sims are so quiet.
Yes.
Like, we're either that or we're running with ear protection on and we never get the heart rate going.
Yeah.
So he's like, is there anything we can do? Like, how do I get one of these? So he took it down to their big academy in Quantico, and they've been using it ever since. But that kind of really helped me realize, like, there's, we got to get a good stimulus that's not going to damage their ears. And that's kind of where K9 came in too. The guys that were buying them for their departments for these active shooter drills realized, like, hey, the dog really is one, better served because we're not damaging the ear. The hearing is bad.
Yes.
Because it doesn't have the energy output as a real 9mm shot or that kind of thing. So it's a lot safer on the ears. And then two, with a blank, you don't have that supersonic concussion happening because there's no bullet leaving and breaking the sound barrier. So with this, it is supersonic. There is a crack that's happening so fast, it's breaking the speed of sound. So it has that same profile as a real gunshot. So we don't pick up on it. Our ears don't, but we see that the dogs really do
So let me get
know
this
the
straight.
difference. Yeah.
So the sound that's coming out of there emulates a supersonic sound, but it's safe to our ears. It's not going to damage our ears. That seems like an engineering feat that's pretty amazing. Like, honestly, that seems almost like magic. That's pretty awesome.
Well, with OSHA and all that kind of stuff, there's these fast impact things. I don't understand all the math, but
right.
But yeah, we keep it at a lower decibel level, so that if you're within obviously you can't put your ear on.
Of course, yeah.
There's a big blast that comes out of it.
Absolutely.
And we have give everybody hearing protection. That's working close to it.
Yeah.
But at a distance, what's happening is it's bouncing around like a real shot. It goes every direction instantly.
It's beautiful.
So the echoing, everything is just like how a shot is fired. So if you set it in a hall, it's very realistic.
Yeah.
And there's a muzzle flash and everything, just like a real gun would do. And you can turn it on its side, set it on a stool, have it, shoot out into a hallway.
Yeah.
You'd swear someone just shot out.
That's amazing. And I can, okay to pick up the gun?
Yeah. You want to play with it?
Or I'll just grab the gun real quick.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to speak to this real quick because the look and feel, very realistic. The weight, very realistic.
And we have a couple of versions of these. But
yeah. The way you can drop the mag, super heavy. I know you were kind of demoed it for us out there where you can kind of drop the mag. Don't worry about it. I guess is it rated rubber or something?
It's got a rubber base. And it's designed for impact because that's what we want. We want you guys going through the fit and finish of every aspect of it. So it's got round counters, so it'll stop firing after a certain amount. This one actually transmits to the shot box. Mm-hmm. So that's what we call our system that creates the gunfire. But so every time you pull the trigger, it'll do that. And then we put in some other features on the smart firearm to allow it to there's a problem we see, especially with new recruits. Like they'll end up resting a finger in the trigger well. Not intentionally, but it just happens.
Yes.
And so we have an alarm system that the smart firearms guys developed for this that will make a real annoying like definitely embarrass you.
Yeah.
So everybody looks at you, it's like, dude, get your finger off the trigger.
Yes.
And especially in canine, it's important, as you know.
Of course.
You have one hand on the leash, and all of a sudden you get a big tug here. There's almost this automatic sympathetic. This hand goes back, and that trigger finger automatically just pulls.
Yes.
And you can't help it. It's so as long as your finger's not there, it's not a problem. But
what a cool feature!
So it's just a feature.
For gun safety, that's really, really important.
Now, you know what we should do? We should just pop one of these.
Do it.
I'm plugging my ears.
Go ahead. I'm ready. Oh, good Lord. That's good. Hey, I want to say my dog over here who's been neutralized with gunfire did a great job over there. So, Bear, I'm very proud of you, buddy.
Good.
Tim, thank you for what you're doing for our industry. Freaking awesome product. I absolutely love it. I can think of so many ways we can implement this to make our dogs safer and neutralize them to a bunch of things. And, of course, on the SWAT side and active shooter side, which you brought up a couple times. Man, how cool is that?
Well, there you have it. 4 different companies servicing different parts of the industry, all with similar goals to serve those who love dogs. The links to all of their websites could be found in the description. If you happen to find yourself in the market to purchase the Court system, we have good news for you. If you put the discount code NLK924, that's NLK924, you get 5% off, and it lets Paul know that we sent you. We're also going to be headed to the HITS conference this year. We have some awesome guests lined up to be interviewed. And if you happen to be going, we hope that you'll say what's up. Well, hopefully we can have a conversation and maybe answer some questions or maybe get some tips about who would you like to see on the podcast. If you want to continue to support us, please like and subscribe. We hope to see you soon. Please take care of yourselves and take care of each other.